Welcome to Vanity Fair. It is a bustling, chaotic, and incredibly noisy place. You won't find much morality here, and it certainly isn't merry. Instead, it is a world fueled by deceit, superficial desires, and a desperate scramble for status. To understand how this world operates, we have to look past the crowds and focus on the man pulling the strings. Our story begins with a melancholy manager carefully setting up his puppets on a stage for an audience. That manager is the author himself, William Makepeace Thackery. He wrote Vanity Fair in the late 1840s, using this theatrical framing device to expose the deep flaws and contradictions of 19th century English society. Treating these characters as puppets allows Thackeray, and us, to coldly dissect human folly. We watch them chase empty titles and fortunes without getting lost in the usual melodrama. Our two leading puppets are presented to us right as they depart Miss Pinkerton's rigid academy and step into the real world. They represent two very different ways to survive. First, we have Amelia Sedley. She comes from a wealthy, comfortable family and is beloved by everyone around her. But she is dangerously naive, viewing the world through a thick, sentimental lens. Then there is Becky Sharp. Orphaned and impoverished, she has no safety net. To survive, Becky has developed a hyper-intelligence and a ruthless, calculating ambition. Becky makes her intentions clear the moment she leaves the academy. As her carriage rolls away, she takes her farewell gift, a copy of Samuel Johnson's dictionary, and hurls it into the gutter. With that dictionary in the mud, the paths of these two women diverge. Amelia enters society with a heart full of trust, while Becky enters it with a mind sharpened for war, both stepping into a world that demands the mask of virtue, but pays only for the practice of deceit. The first stop in our fairground is the marriage market. In this era, securing a wealthy husband is rarely a romantic pursuit. It is a tactical campaign for survival. Becky targets Amelia's rich, foolish weather, Joss Sedley. She attempts to manipulate him into a proposal during a night out at Vauxhall Gardens, but her first major gamble falls apart. She pivots immediately. Becky takes a job as a governess for the Crawley family, executes a new strategy, and eventually secures a secret marriage to the aristocratic son, Rawdon Crawley. Amelia's timeline takes a darker turn. Her father faces sudden financial ruin. Yet, despite her family's bankruptcy, she remains fixated on marrying the vain and self-obsessed George Osborne. That union only happens because of Captain William Dobbin, George's loyal friend who is secretly in love with Amelia and manipulates the situation to ensure her happiness. Both women end up with the husbands they wanted, but both marriages rest on shaky ground. Becky has made a calculated gamble for social status, while Amelia has pinned her life to a naive fantasy of romantic love. The domestic maneuvering is cut short by the Napoleonic Wars. The entire group is dragged across the Channel to Brussels, throwing their fragile social webs into chaos. Here, George's true nature becomes impossible to ignore. Barely weeks into their marriage, he openly flirts with Becky right under Amelia's nose. Before this domestic drama can boil over into a full scandal, history intervenes. The Battle of Waterloo erupts just outside the city. The immediate casualties reshape everything. George is killed in action on the battlefield, leaving Amelia a pregnant widow, while the loyal Dobbin survives. The chaotic violence of war serves as a random equalizer in Vanity Fair. It instantly shatters the social climbing and the romantic illusions they spent years carefully constructing. Over the next decade, the long aftermath of the war pulls our two protagonists in distinctly different directions. Amelia spends years living in miserable poverty. Instead of moving on, she obsessively worships a false, idealized memory of her dead husband. Her devotion to this ghost reaches a breaking point when she gives up her beloved son, Georgie, handing him over to her cruel father-in-law just to ensure the boy has a financial future. Meanwhile, Becky climbs to the peak of high society. Using her wit and charm, she secures massive wealth and access, completely neglecting her own husband and child in the process. But her success is short-lived. A catastrophic public scandal with the wealthy Lord Stein ruins her reputation overnight, leaving her destitute. Extreme devotion to cynical ambition left Becky with nothing. and extreme devotion to naive sentimentality left Amelia alone. The fairground, it turns out, is inherently empty. 18 years after Waterloo, the characters finally cross paths in Europe. Amelia, her son, and Dobbin run into a ruined, nomadic Becky Sharp. Becky falls back on her original playbook and begins manipulating Amelia's brother Jaws all over again. But then, Becky does something surprising. In a single act of honesty, she shows Amelia the secret note George slipped her right before he died. It is undeniable proof that he intended to leave her. For 18 years, Amelia built her entire identity around the sanctity of George's memory. In a few lines of messy script, that idol collapses. The years of poverty and the loss of her son were sacrificed for a man who was ready to abandon her before the first shots were even fired. Freed from the ghost of her dead husband, Amelia calls for the long-suffering Dobbin. After nearly 2 decades of waiting, they finally marry. Becky manages to secure Jaws's life insurance money, living out the rest of her days in a state of modest, slightly shady comfort. Thackeray leaves us without a neat moral victory. Vanity Fair offers no perfect heroes and no pure villains. It is simply a mirror held up to a flawed society. And so the manager finally returns to pack the puppets away and close the curtains on the performance. Whether we navigate life with ruthless ambition or naive romanticism, the stage remains the same. We are all just flawed actors, trying to find our place on the noisy, bustling stage of the human condition.